I'm going to move on now to Senator Siri Carney, who has swapped spaces with Joseph Madigan. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for facilitating me. I'm late to this, so I may ask questions that have already been asked, so apologies. I want to begin by, I was at a briefing last year that was launched by Minister Hildegard Naughton, and at it we saw statistics given to us from the research, which was really a fantastic level of data. However, it showed that while drug use is across all sectors of society, its effect and its impact, its devastating impact, is more particularly felt in disadvantaged communities. And so I have the privilege of working with a drugs task force and seeing a drugs and alcohol task force and seeing firsthand the incredible work done by a very small group of people on the ground in delivering that recovery, in delivering those interventions, those supports, both to families, on family programmes, outreach workers, and it is just, I am always in awe of what I hear at the monthly meetings, of the sheer work and incredible dedication of people. But in these the more disadvantaged the community, the more under pressure they are. They are suffering in the main from poverty, from children need extra interventions. They're the ones that are most deprived of assessment of needs. And they're the ones that are most likely find accessibility to the support of their children is the absolute steep uphill. In fact, it's a cliff. They're climbing up a cliff. And so I suppose when I read your opening statements and I look at all of this, I think, where's the interdepartmental group? Where's the Department of Children in all of this, in resourcing youth workers? Where is that coordinated approach? Because when I see the recommendations, I see certainly policy. We need sharpening up and innovation on policy and on delivery. And I'll come back in a minute to the sheer funding of the drugs task forces and how that's done. But this coordinated approach that needs in all of government. So where is DSP? Where is the Department of Children? Where is this interdepartmental group that coordinates that everybody needs to be fully resourced, because we need to tackle particularly in disadvantaged communities? We have women who may be on a maintenance programme and doing very well, but then they're targeted in their community. And I heard a report recently from a specific crack cocaine outreach programme that's going on, and that women can go from having their lovely home and within 3 weeks everything gone, and their children devastated, and it is that urgent. It is harrowing to listen to it. So the idea that we would sit here and we would talk about pilots and we would talk about something in the future while people are suffering and dying in the here and now, I find appalling, to be perfectly honest. The funding of drugs task forces seems to me to be the absolute unbelievable Cinderella of the entire Department of Health. They don't have a voice at the table, as far as I can see. They went for an awful long time without getting any increase in their funding at all. There's almost they're an inconvenience in how, and I'm not saying that about the task force that I'm involved in, they don't feel that at all, but from going to meetings, sitting with the chairs network, they're totally voiceless, when they actually should, given how urgent their work is, they should be really properly resourced. And the idea of giving them a programme funding that lasts for a year or 9 months or is for a specific piece of work, when that actually needs to be a multi-annual piece of work, shows a complete disconnect to the experience on the ground versus what is needed in some ivory tower of funding where decisions are made. It's a complete disconnect. I should stop speaking and leave it to you to say something. But I want to know where we are at changing what is a cultural attitude. A person with a drug addiction is a mother, is a daughter, was once a child brought home from a hospital and celebrated and dressed up beautifully. And the idea that they reach a point in their lives where they're treated as in contempt in society and brandished as a drug addict or whatever, I find appalling and heartbreaking for these communities. We need to have an urgent upsurge in getting on with it and not just talking about it. Anyway, I'll stop there. Sorry, Chair. We can't measure what we've prevented. You know, that is a challenge, that we can do a lot of work and we don't know what we have prevented from happening. So I do appreciate that, and I also appreciate the fantastic people in the Gardaí and particularly in the HSE that work particularly in the Dublin 12. They're amazing people.
To move on to Deputy